Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, earlier this week, we received a report from the Attorney General concluding his investigation into the Parole Board. And I know that you and many other members of this body have been asked by the press what we make of it. Well, this side of the aisle has been reticent to speak about this report, and for good reason. First, we most practically wanted to read it. Second, we wanted to take some time to digest what we've read. And said simply, it's bad. Now, members on the other side of the aisle didn't feel the need to pause before commenting. It's all politics, said one member of the other party. Another member said, quote, this idea that there's probably a lot of criminal stuff that's gone on, but we just can't charge any of it because the statute of limitations ran out, it's a political tool. It's more political theater. I don't think there's any real there. End quote. I'm not surprised, Mr. Speaker. From the moment this scandal broke in the spring of 2020, the other side of the aisle downplayed it. Republicans just don't like parole, they argued. It's a witch hunt. It's much ado about nothing. Well, Mr. Speaker, to paraphrase the great Randy Travis, we told you so. This report is horrifying. There's a reason it runs on for as long as it does. There were many things deeply wrong at the Virginia Parole Board before Governor Youngkin cleaned house. Some particularly egregious things that stand out to me are the lack of regard for victims. For example, when a rapist was to be released on parole, then Chair Adrianne Bennett made her own personal policy to not contact the victims despite what the law said. This is from the report. Board employee Crystal Noakes, who often assisted with victim contact efforts, confirmed Chair Bennett's policy in an interview. Noakes told OAG investigators that Chair Bennett would make up policies that were convenient, and Bennett's policies regarding rape victims was that if it's a rape victim, don't traumatize the victim by contacting them. Noakes reiterated that, I just know the way Adrianne worked, and she would kind of make up her own rules as she went along. Analysis of the Parole Board's decisions in March and April of 2020 confirms the lack of victim contact efforts. The cases of convicted rapists Anthony Eugene, Clinton Jacobs, Aubrey Lawrence, Charles Shepard, Robert Day, William Whitaker, and Harold Martin are illustrative. I cannot imagine what a rape victim would go through if the first time they found out about the release of their attacker was encountering them in public. The notification law is in place for a reason, and Chair Bennett just ignored it. There are other egregious things in this document, that are documented in this report, but I want to zoom in on one case, and that's the one of Henry Holmes. Henry Holmes was convicted of 3 armed robberies, which happened in 1996. Focus on that year, 1996. In 2000, he was sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms. He was granted parole by Chair Bennett and the board. Now, that's par for the course for this board. That's what they did. They let dangerous felons out on parole all the time. But what makes it egregious is that by law, Mr. Holmes was not eligible for parole. Mr. Speaker, this General Assembly abolished parole in 1995. Crimes committed after that date were not eligible for parole. But Bennett and the board simply ignored the law and let Mr. Holmes walk free. And they did it again and again and again. Bennett didn't like the General Assembly's 3 strikes law and wanted it to be much more lenient. The Secretary of Public Safety and Homeland Security told her that she needed to get this General Assembly to change the law. A bill came forward from Senator Surville, and it died. The law did not change, but Chair Bennett simply read the law to mean what she wanted it to mean regardless, and opened the prison doors for more people who were simply not eligible. In other cases, there were court orders denying parole to inmates. She ignored them and granted parole anyway. Mr. Speaker, this General Assembly makes the laws of the Commonwealth. Those who serve the public take an oath to follow them. Mr. Speaker, this House has some very important decisions to make in the very near future regarding this report. I would hope Judge Bennett would resign, as she should, and make those decisions unnecessary. Nonetheless, I implore all of my colleagues, read the report, don't dismiss it, ask questions, and when the time comes, do the right thing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.